Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. We're on part 4, continuing with episode 5. We are almost done. We're narrowing them down to one question per video because they're now having detailed answers to them. So today's question is a great one. Today's question is, how do people react when you disclose to them your condition? And are there any stigmas associated with that? Because you seem, for lack of a better word, normal. So when you talk about your condition to people, do they think it's crazy and it's weird? It's a great question. In fact, I just had someone ask me something like this yesterday. The person asked me, how do you think social media and people are portraying OCD? Do they have it right? They don't. So in these videos, I'm going to explain more about what OCD is really like. And I'm going to answer these questions and sort of give people an idea on the stigmas associated with that and how OCD is being portrayed. So I'll start with the disclosing of my condition part of the question. So when I tell people about my condition, I get mixed reactions, of course. I'll get those that won't believe me. I'll get those that will try and believe me, but on the fence about it because they don't understand what I'm telling them. And then I'll get those that would believe me. So it's almost like a no, almost there, maybe, yes. I do get some people that are in shock. When I tell them about my OCD, they'll say to me like, dude, after all these years, I would have never known. You seem fine. You seem normal. I would have never known that you were suffering from this. And I do notice that when I do tell people about my condition, I do notice that some of them are processing it right in front of me. And I think it's because they don't know much about OCD. So they're trying to combine what I'm telling them with the knowledge that they have and sort of finding belief in it or, not believing in it. So I notice when I tell people like I have OCD, I notice they're processing it. And that's where the stigmas come from, because I understand that the stigma, it stems from misinformation. And that's why some people don't believe me. OCD is not being talked about. And so I'm here to start that. I'm here to start the conversation. So I wrote down examples of some social stigmas that I'm going to get to in a minute. But when I tell people about my condition, it's a gamble. I'm either going to get people that will not believe me or they will. So even to this day, after making these videos, I'm still afraid to tell people about my condition, even though it's open to the public. That's how OCD is lightly taken. It's hard to share it with someone because it is all misinformed. The condition is totally wrong in media. It is portrayed only as a hand-washing disease, when in reality, by watching these videos, you'll know this is narrowing down. This is what OCD is really like. So stigmas, now part of the question. I've experienced both social stigma and self-stigma. Okay, so social stigma, that's what people know. That's what they address specifically OCD about. Self-stigma, you guys have actually heard me say some things. I've said things about myself such as I'm a monster for thinking these thoughts. I'm a terrible person. No one will accept me or want me. People may treat me differently or not want to be associated with me because of that. I'm a burden to people. So my self-stigma, I'm guessing it comes from social stigma, because every day that I kept this condition of mine a secret, for all those years, less and less confident I was becoming in myself, and I was becoming more and more harsh towards myself, simply because how people were reacting when I was telling them what I struggled with. They didn't take it lightly. They didn't believe me. So then it made me feel as if like there's something wrong with me then. If no one wants to accept me, then that means it's my fault. There's something wrong with me. And I'm wanting to change that. And the only way that I can change that is by talking about it. The more that I talk about this, the more that I heal. So every client that comes in, I've noticed they'll actually ask me questions about my OCD, and I'm so thankful. I had people yesterday, they go, hey, I would like to ask you more about this, but I don't want to cross any boundaries. And I go, ask, please ask. Like I said, the more that I talk about this, the more that I heal. And also, the more information is being put out there, so that way people can help out someone that is suffering from OCD or something like this. So, social stigmas that I've wrote examples about. I've had some that I'm going to say right now. Some of them happen to me personally. Some of them are more as a group that I've heard of. So I've had friends tell me that I shouldn't worry about having OCD because everyone has it. And I have a story for that. I remember I told my friend one time, I said, hey, a while ago you shared with me a story about your anxiety. Thank you for sharing that with me. You know what? I'm actually going to share with you something that I've been dealing with as well. Can you give me some time and I'll share it with you? And I remember they said, yeah, that's fine. And a week went by and I said, hey, I think I'm ready to share this with you. And they go, cool, let's do this. And I told them, I said, you know what? I've known you for a long time, but I suffer from OCD. I suffer from this and I struggle with it every day. And I remember they were like, is that all? Oh, you're fine. Everyone has it. And I just remember I was like, okay, conversation done. And I know it's not the person's fault. I understand that it's misinformation or it's the fact that it's not talked about a lot. So, I didn't hold it against the person, but I do have those moments. And that stems from a social, that's a stigma right there. I've had someone ask me, hey man, do you really want to live this way? Do you want to wake up in the morning and do you want to live your life like this? And I remember I told them, I said, I can't change it. There's no switch. There's no pill that I can just take and it'll just go away. So I've had someone ask me that. I've had people tell me, don't think about it. Don't stress yourself out and it'll automatically go away and you'll be fine. If only that would be easy. That would be amazing. A lot of the times I do hear people using OCD as a punchline for a joke when they don't want to be called crazy for being organized. So for example, I go to Michael's and I buy markers for work. I just grab all of them and I just throw them in the basket. I don't really organize them or anything. I just throw them all and then I'll bring them to the cashier. I'll put the basket on the counter and I always apologize. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of markers. I'm sorry to make your job harder. So the cashier basically just dumps them out and he lays them out on the counter and he's grabbing a rubber band and he's tying them into groups. And I go, oh, thank you, man. He goes, no, it's just my OCD coming out. I want to make sure that it's all good. And I remember I was like, all right, this is a moment for you to own your condition. So I said, you know what? I actually have OCD. And I remember he was like, oh. And I was like, damn it, I just made him feel bad. So it's moments like that when OCD is used a lot, either as a punchline or as a sort of like this card that people use when they don't want to be judged. And I don't know why. Why is it that people are afraid to be judged for being organized or for being clean or hygienic? Why do they have to use OCD as that moment where they don't want people to think that they're crazy or weird? And that's why this question is terrific. Do people think you're crazy or weird? And I'm wondering, is the person asking this question because do they feel crazy or weird when they're being organized? Do they think of OCD when they're in front of someone and they're stacking their papers neatly and they're organizing their desk? So for those that are watching this and for the person that asked this question, is it because do you feel that it's weird or crazy when you are overly organized or you're hygienic, right? Or you're meticulous about things? Is that what OCD has now come to? So these stigmas, they make me and other sufferers, feel isolated and ashamed of my condition simply because we're being told to shake it off. Shake it off. Don't live your life this way. You're fine. All right. So for social stigma, I totally understand that it stems from misinformation. I always think about Luke 23:34 whenever someone doesn't handle my vulnerability the correct way. That's okay. I can't control how they react. I can't control their thoughts towards what I'm telling them. So I understand that there's a lot of misinformation about OCD. And I'm not saying any of these things to guilt trip anyone. I don't mean any harm on anyone. I don't mean any offense. I'm sharing you something that isn't talked about. So when it comes to social stigma, I'm very forgiving. I'm still working on trying to self-soothe myself if ever a person is having a hard time accepting what I'm telling them, or if they're handling it in a way that doesn't seem very sympathetic or empathetic in that sense. Because out of all the people that I've told, there has only been one person that has said to me, like, hey, I took the time to research about OCD so I can help you, so I can learn what to do when you're having a moment. That's amazing. Imagine for all these other conditions, including OCD, if a person went out of their way to research about bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, OCD, generalized anxiety disorder. Imagine if the person that you either sleep next to, or the person that you ride on the bus with, or the person that you sit at a desk with, imagine if they came up to you, if you had a mental disease, and they said, you know what, hey, I want to help you because I know that it's hard. And so that's where social stigma can end if we all just help each other out. I had some clients that I met yesterday, and I really hope that they follow through with this. They want to start a wellness center targeting mental diseases, mental disorders that can help people start these conversations in elementary or middle school. I really hope that they follow through with it, because imagine if we had these conversations at an earlier age. I wouldn't feel alone. Other people wouldn't feel alone. So I know that was a long rant, but anyways, self-stigma is something that I'm still working on. It's hard to deal with because every day for 3 years that I kept this condition of mine a secret, I lost more and more confidence in myself, and I became more and more aggressive towards myself simply because of social stigma. When I would tell people this, they either would dismiss my feelings or make me feel that I'm wrong for feeling this way. And therefore, they put those feelings onto me. I know it wasn't their fault. I'm responsible for my feelings. But that reaction made me feel that something is wrong with me simply because of how OCD is being portrayed in media, in social media, movies, TV shows. They have OCD wrong. OCD is a joke in these portrayals, and so that's why self-stigma is very aggressive for OCD sufferers, simply because of how it's being portrayed. And these sufferers, they can't speak up. They can't say anything because it's already too late. It's too late. The social stigma has really grown so much that it's hard for a sufferer like myself to speak up. It's going to take an entire village and an entire community to end this, and I really hope that it does. So I've had examples and moments where I would go into work and not feel confident or comfortable sharing with a friend of mine or a long-time client my condition, simply because I don't know what information they know about OCD. Clients share with me their personal stories every day. I can't share mine with them simply because I do not know how they're going to react, because of what information that has been relayed on to them from, like I said, media and communities. So this is such a great question, simply because I'm wondering if this person is asking this question because maybe they're overly organized. Maybe they're very meticulous with how they work. Maybe they're very hygienic. They may not have OCD, but will someone look at them and think that they're weird for having those habits and think that they have OCD? Because a part of the question that this person asked was, you seem normal, right? So then it has me wondering, how am I supposed to look? If someone has OCD, how are they supposed to look? Do you believe that if someone is highly organized or washes their hand consistently, that they automatically have OCD and are either weird for that, right? So this is a conversation that I'm glad we're having. How is someone with OCD supposed to look? And how is someone without OCD but is very meticulous and organized, why do they feel afraid to be judged? And that's why they use OCD as that sort of ticket, that little card that they play to get out of feeling, is it what, shame or guilt, or is it embarrassment? It's a great question, and I'm glad that this person asked this question. I think there's only one more question after this video in part 5, and I'm glad that this question was asked. I'm very happy that this person asked this next question. Guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. I don't mean any offense with this video. I understand stigma stems from misinformation. In no way do I have any harsh feelings towards anyone or the examples that I've used. I understand. I totally understand. But anyways, if you guys have questions, please let me know. Please reach out. Thank you for joining me in today's video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.